The crowd moved first. It was not organized anger. It was instinct. Voices rose. Hands reached. Someone said her name like an accusation. Someone else stepped forward.
The whole village wanted to pounce on her. But King Ezeudo rose from his throne. He did not shout. He did not need to. He had been king for 31 years, and the weight of that sat in his posture and lived in his eyes. And when he rose and raised one hand, Umuoka went quiet the way Umuoka always went quiet for him, immediately and completely. He descended the steps from the platform slowly. He was not a small man. Age had not diminished him. He walked through the crowd and it opened for him. And he stood in the center where Amaka stood and Paujuku stood, and where three girls knelt in various states of collapse. He looked at Paujuku for a long moment. Paujuku looked back. 40 years of silence passed between them in that look, and something in both of their faces settled. The king looked at Amaka. He saw her, really saw her. The steadiness, the grief she had carried and transformed, the girl who had come back not to burn things down, but to let the truth stand in the open air. He nodded once, slowly, with the gravity of a man who understood exactly what he was looking at. Then he turned to the three girls. His voice when he spoke was not raised, it was worse than raised. It was deliberate. Every word placed with the precision of a man who had thought for a long time about the weight of consequence. He said, Umuoka does not take blood for blood. That is not who we are. But Umuoka does not look away from what has been done. He sentenced them simply and finally. Chika, Chioma, and Chisom would serve in the palace for 5 years. They would attend to Amaka, her meals, her compound, her needs. They would wake up every morning and move through the life they had tried to erase. Not as slaves, as consequence, as a daily living reminder of what jealousy costs, what envy destroys, what you lose when you mistake beauty for destiny. The crowd received the judgment in silence. Not satisfied silence. The earlier anger had wanted something louder, something more immediate, but the silence of people who respected the man who had spoken and trusted that what he had given was enough. Prince Chike waited until the crowd settled. Then he walked to Amaka. He stood before her the way a person stands before something they have rehearsed nothing for, without script, without arrangement, just present, just honest. I moved on, he said. His voice was low.
I moved on. I told myself I had no choice. You were gone, and I had to be a prince, even when I no longer knew how to simply be a person.
He paused. I did not stop loving you. I want you to know that. But I moved in the direction of someone else. And I need to ask you, not as a prince, as the man who chose you, I need to ask if you can forgive me for that. Amaka looked at him for a long time. Around them, the whole of Umuoka held its breath. She thought about forgiveness. Not what it meant in speech, in the easy way people deployed the word. She thought about what it actually required. She thought about the 8 months in Pa Ojuku's hut. The memories that came back like a fist. The days she had spent rebuilding herself out of nothing. She thought about what she had learned in all of that silence. That forgiveness was not the same as forgetting, and it was not the same as saying something did not matter. It was the decision to not let what someone else did continue to live inside you and take up space. She had made that decision about a lot of things in the last 8 months. Yes, she said, I forgive you. Not quickly, not the way you say something to end a difficult moment, but deliberately, with the full weight of someone who had thought about what the word meant and was choosing it anyway. His exhale was shaky. Something came back into his eyes. Not all at once, not completely, but enough. Enough to see. He turned to his father. The king was already holding it, a beaded crown, the kind worn by the women of the royal house, passed down through generations, kept, for the moment, a prince named his future wife.
Chike took it with both hands. He turned back to Amaka. The crowd was completely silent. He lifted the crown and placed it on her head slowly, carefully, with the hands of a man handling something precious. He did not speak while he did it. There were no words for what the gesture already said. When it settled on her head, he stepped back. And then, Umoka erupted. Not the confused, grief-stricken eruption of her arrival. This was something different. This was joy with full knowledge, celebration that understood exactly what it was celebrating. The drums came back to life, the dancers moved. People called her name and called it again. Old women ululated until their voices cracked. Children ran in circles because the energy of the moment had nowhere else to go. Pa Ojuku stood at the edge of the celebration. He watched. His old eyes moved from Amaka's crowned head to the king's face across the crowd, and the king looked at him, and both men smiled. The small, tired smile of people who have lived long enough to see that things sometimes come right in the end. The drums played until the stars came out over Umuoka, and Amaka danced. Not for the crowd, not for the prince, not for anyone watching. She danced because she was alive. Because her feet were on the red earth of the village she came from, and the people who loved her were around her, and the night air smelled of firewood and pepper soup and everything familiar. She danced because she was alive.